Hi there, and welcome to the Play Therapy Circle. Before we begin, please note this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not provide therapeutic advice, and listening does not create a client-therapist relationship. All views expressed are my own, and any case examples shared have been de-identified to protect privacy. If you're seeking personal support, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional in your area. Hi, and welcome to an episode of the Play Therapy Circle. I'm Kylie Ellison, a therapist, clinical supervisor, and play therapy trainer, and I'm so grateful you're here. This podcast is a space for thoughtful, soulful conversations about child-centered therapy, play-based work, and what it means to show up with presence and compassion, both for our clients and for ourselves. Whether you're a seasoned play therapist, a student just starting out, or someone deeply passionate about working with children, you belong here. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Play Therapy Circle podcast. I'm your host, Kylie Ellison, and I am so glad you are here. You guys, oh my God. When I tell you that I have had the most unhinged day probably to date, I'm not joking. And we talk about our tenets of CCPT about being congruent and having that authenticity. So I'm going to share with you what my day has been like, because I had every intention of recording the podcast. Probably should have been yesterday, let's be real. It's Thursday, and it's right now 6:40 p.m. I should have recorded it early in the morning. Did I stay up last night and watch reality television? Yes, I did. Did I then not give myself enough time this morning? Also yes. So I have been this week, you guys. I had this whole episode. I was so excited. I recorded the first 10 minutes of it, you guys, based off so much conversation that I've had this week. And I had recorded the first 10 minutes, and then I got a phone call on my hotel phone, and they were like, oh, your driver is here, like your your service to pick you up to take you to the next venue is here. And I was like, oh my God, they're half an hour early. So I literally had to pause the podcast and then leave it, because the rest of the day has been unhinged. And so I am just now at 6:40 getting a chance to record this. I have not ordered dinner. Let me tell you about my day. Okay, so that happened. So they were half an hour early. So that was fine. So this week, let me kind of bounce around, but follow along. So this week I am in Victoria. I have only been here a handful of times before, but not to any of the places that I've been so far this week. So it's been so cool to go to all of these different places in Victoria, and for all of my beautiful supervisees who were keen to catch up and were sending me messages, I am so sorry that I have not made it this week to you. It has been such a big week, way bigger than I thought that it would be. And I'm definitely on the second last day. Tomorrow is the last day, and then I fly home tomorrow night, and I'm just on the last kind of slide of energy left in me. So it's been a huge week. So I started in Bendigo on Monday. That was a smaller group. I want to think so far, it's pushing up to 60, 70 people I've connected with over the last 3 days, and I've got one more training tomorrow. So it's been a huge cohort of people in a really short amount of time that I've been doing child-centered play therapy training with. So it's been massive. But Bendigo team were beautiful. Hello to the Bendigo team. Hi, you guys. From Monday, you were incredible. Ballarat team represent. You guys on Tuesday were unreal. You were so great. Wednesday was a beautiful, reflective group. I loved connecting with everyone in Wyndham Vale yesterday. And then today was travel day. I have made it to Mildura. And so tomorrow I'm training in Mildura and then flying home. So I haven't met the Mildura crew yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I am a Brisbane girl through and through, and it's been like 8 degrees here, 10 degrees, and it's like 28 degrees at home. So I am not okay, still not okay. So I've been doing the training, which has been my absolute passion, you guys. Like, when I get to share CCPT, it's why I do this podcast, because I could talk about child-centered play therapy for days. So I love to do it in any kind of, space that I can. So in 2 weeks' time, I'm presenting at a conference in Cairns, because presenting at conferences is another way to get child-centered play therapy out there. So I just do all of the different things, right? So today was supposed to be an easy day. She wasn't. Guys, she wasn't. Not even close. So I got to Armadale because I was like, oh my God, we all have dreams, right? We all have like things in our life that we're just like, one day I'll take a trip to Greece. One day I'll, learn how to speak Spanish, like those kind of like big kind of things that you're like, will I do it? I'm not sure. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So the thing for me was the opportunity to go to High Street in Armadale. And I know that's not going to mean much to many people, but if you love kind of clothing and those kinds of things, I've really become kind of really interested in putting together outfits and putting together different pieces, and everyone has to have a hobby, right? So I guess this is my hobby. So I was beyond excited. I was sharing on the socials all day kind of the adventures of going to High Street. It was beautiful, but it didn't necessarily completely go to plan, so that was fine, and ended up finding a toy store because I'm a play therapist. In a high fashion kind of very unique sort of, there was an Arms of Eve store. Oh my God, you guys, there was so many stores where I was like, I actually can't go in here because this is just this is my mecca. I'm just so overloaded with excitement. There in a street like that, as a play therapist, you can bet I will find a toy store. So I did, and bought a couple of presents for my kids. I promise, even though they're teenagers, the presents I've got, I know they'll love. So that was a win. That was a win in the day. Then I had just a bunch of work to do. So I made my way to the airport, and I shared on the socials as well. I got myself completely confused and thinking that I was going to a regional airport, not Melbourne airport, which is obviously big. So confused myself, and my incredible Shaz, who has held me together this week. And then I get on the plane and I've got here, and I've realized that I packed too much stuff. I did. I packed 2 jackets. I've worn one. I've not worn the other one, but it takes up so much room. So I then had to get an Uber to Kmart and buy a suitcase, and then get an Uber to get back because I don't have a car because I'm in Mildura, and now I'm here. Oh my God. So thank you for listening to my TED Talk on how to be an unorganized, unhinged 43-year-old ADHD person who has no idea what she's doing. But this is a podcast where you weren't necessarily asking for that information. You're here because you want to learn about child-centered play therapy. So what I wanted to share with you guys, and the standout message, and I'm going to unpack it a lot more in next week's episode, but the standout message was definitely around, what does the play mean? There was so many reflections and questions and conversations around, but can't I just ask, I'm wondering if you're sad right now. I'm wondering if you want to play right now. These kind of I statements, statements that are coming from the perspective of the practitioner, lots of those conversations around just really understanding that when we're talking about connecting with kids, I would argue successfully, it really requires us to unlearn any of those approaches where we ask questions to kids or we talk to kids verbally, which is really hard. It's a very big transition, right? But it's understanding that prefrontal cortex, that part of the brain that requires children to connect words to their feelings and their experiences, is still developing. So it's not even fully there. It's not fully even online. So you're asking children to answer things that they don't necessarily have an answer to. And so then we often find, depending on their background, say high compliance, where they're going to give you potentially the answers that they think you want because they want to keep you happy, etc., etc. So it was really about so many of those practitioners I've connected with this week, giving them a different perspective to say, talking to adults, it's play for kids. So if we really want to understand and really hear children, we have to stop talking to kids. We have to let them play, and our job as the adults is to understand what they're playing out and to support them through that, instead of asking questions, giving them suggestions, having games for them to play. Like, none of that hits the mark in terms of what children need to communicate. So it really was some very oftentimes challenging conversations around the fact that children are playing every day and communicating to us every day through play. It's just our job to be able to understand and interpret that. So I say all behaviour is communication. I've said that before and I'll say it again. And so what we often find when we're talking about kids with challenging or naughty behaviours is that they have used up every other tool in their toolkit, and they've gotten to the point where they're like, I've got nothing else left. This is all I've got, is these outbursts, meltdowns, expressions of frustration and anger because no one's listening to me. And so understanding that behaviour is actually them talking to us. So I say to parents, children are discussing in therapy, these themes or these issues. They may not have said a single word in the playroom, but they've talked through their play. They've done that and helped me understand immensely what's going on in their world, not using a single word. So anyone that is feeling, I guess, I don't know what message I want to send out in this space today, because it really was about giving practitioners another lens this week to see children's behaviour as being them trying to tell us a message or communicate to us, as opposed to them trying to be manipulative, trying to be naughty, trying to be disruptive. The other part of the conversations that we've been having this week, and especially for folk in Victoria, so if you're a listener in Victoria, you guys are at the epicenter of what we are now seeing in the research of over 3,000 studies now, of what we are seeing in the research around what the impact of those COVID lockdowns have had on the mental health of children. So I think giving that information, the feedback that I was getting in the training was that they hadn't heard some of this information before, and how grateful they were to hear it, because I think that there is a strong pathologizing. I'm saying this from my perspective, this is just my opinion. I think there is definitely a higher pathologizing of children's behaviors towards diagnoses of ADHD or autism at the moment, rather than looking holistically at all of the factors involved with their presentation, which include, for those babies born between 2020 and 2022, the impact of COVID lockdowns. The neuroscience doesn't lie, you guys. The neuroscience MRI studies in the last 2 years have shown us that babies born during that time had smaller amygdalas, smaller or reduced size of hippocampus, and also this white brain matter that they've now identified in the babies born during COVID. So we're not just talking about kids choosing to be naughty or difficult, but we are working with a different population of kids. So I feel like that has been a really rewarding part of doing the training this week, of being able to share some of that information, normalize it, but also, I guess, address the fact that we as an adult population, as a parent population, are also heavily traumatized by everything we went through in 2020 and 2022. It has now been identified as a mass trauma event. A mass traumatic event. So this isn't just individualized to certain families or certain areas. So we need to, as adults, be taking care of ourselves, getting psychological support, connecting with our community, and really normalizing the stress and anxiety that parents are feeling right now, because that is all of us collectively. I just spent the beginning of this episode talking about how freaking unhinged my day was. Like, that is, if that's not an indicator of all of us just clinging on by a thread. I don't know what is. I want to cut this short because this was just a hello. I promise my listeners I haven't forgotten about you. I am so grateful that you guys are still listening. This is episode 41, so 42 next week. I am traveling to Newcastle. I was like, what am I doing next week? Oh my God. I'm traveling to Newcastle on Friday to Monday. So fingers crossed, I will get a podcast out with that episode talking about really understanding what kids are communicating through play, not just themes and stages of play, but how do we really understand what it is and why play is the answer in terms of really getting to the heart of their communication, and why it's actually our responsibility as adults to put our stuff aside and actually unlearn some of the things we've maybe been taught previously and learn how to actually hear them. Because that's the gift, right? That's what's important. Hey, the other thing I want to say, which kind of fits with this episode because it's a short one today. If you have a question that you would like me to answer, we have had our very first listener email question, and I was beyond excited, you guys. Like, I love this. I want to be able to interact with our listeners. So if you have a question for me, I want to do like a Q&A session, and there's no questions off limits. Like, send me any question that you would like, and I will check in with you to make sure that you're okay with me reading it out in that Q&A episode. But please, please, please email us if you've got a child-centered play therapy question that you would like to get an answer from me as somebody in this podcaster space. I would love to do that. So we're going to put our email address that you can reach us on in the notes of this episode so that you can reach out to us via email and ask the questions. We'd love to hear from you. You guys, the drill. You can catch us on the socials. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your good podcasts. We've got our conference coming up in October, you guys, with me and Jodie Mullen. I can't freaking wait. It's going to be amazing. And join our community. We've got our free circle subscription for anyone who would like to join us. So we'll put the link in the notes to this episode as well if you would like to join our community. But please go well, look after yourselves and each other. I'm going to order my dinner. Oh my gosh, and do my final day of training tomorrow. I am just so grateful. I've just had the best time. I've had the best week, but also I'm buggered. So I'm going to go. Thanks so much for listening. Big love to all of you, and I will catch you next week, either in Newcastle or Brisbane. Who knows? You'll find me somewhere next week. I will see you soon. Bye for now. Bye. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Play Therapy Circle. If anything resonated with you today, I'd love it if you could follow the podcast, share it with a colleague, or leave a short review. It really helps others find our circle. And if you have a topic or question you'd love me to explore, I'd love to hear from you. This space is for you, and I want it to feel like a conversation. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you belong here.